paper only. So let us see the questions one by one very clearly. Now coming to these questions, I mean, I don't know which set is this. I believe this is set number A that I am having right now. So you guys can also cross check it. But I mean, since I am sharing the questions directly, so you will have no confusion at all as far as discussion of the test papers are concerned. This question paper is concerned, in fact. Now, see, I mean, let us keep it like this way. First of all, we will discuss about the questions of polity and their answers most tentatively. Second, we'll be also discussing about the questions of history, and then finally with economy, and then so on with geography, environment, and then science and technology. And the last one is current affairs in that way. So that would be our pattern of discussion of all these questions. Fine. So starting with these questions only. So see, first of all, the number of questions from polity is somewhere around 17. 16 to 17 questions you can say about from polity section only. But what kind of polity questions are being asked? I mean, let me tell you one thing at the outset, that out of the entire papers of this year's, in fact, prelims, it is only the questions of polity, which I would say as the best question set by UPSC in last few years. Now, why best? Best is all due to that these questions are more or less of conceptual in nature than the factual in pure sense. In relation or in comparison to the questions of, let's say, history, or even to the extent of some of the questions of economy and geography, like that way, the questions of polity, according to me, have been the most standard questions in this year's prelims. And it is all due to one thing, that is more or less 99% of the questions of polity, they have been asked from the conceptual understanding. And that's exactly what is UPSC, in fact, is known for. So that's how you differentiate between UPSC and any state public service commission examination. So exactly that's what actually is the first and foremost analysis of this year's prelims paper on Indian polity. Now, the question that actually have been asked on Indian polity could be easily answered following few of the sources. The first source for Indian polity questions of this year's, in fact, I would say, would be, of course, Lakshmikant to start with. And I believe that all of you must be having Lakshmikant. There's nothing new in that. So, of course, you all must be having Lakshmikant of Indian polity to start with, because that would give you the basic understanding about the questions of Indian polity for sure. Then, apart from that, the questions of this year would be also answered if you have a fair understanding, a fair idea about the book called PM Bakshis. This is the book that you all guys have to have. This book you have to carry. You have to always keep this book with you. Now, this is a book of Bear Act. All right. In this book, all the articles are mentioned very clearly. And these articles are mentioned also in the context of some recent judgments. So you can take the recent edition of PM Bakshi, that is the Bear Act book. All right. So this is going to be your second source to actions of polity, and the third source would be to go through the chapter of polity and social justice from India Yearbook. For example, the question that is MP lad, that is third question only. It is fine. So you have the chapter of polity in India book, and from there only about MP lad scheme, it has been nicely explained over there. So that's what actually you can also understand about the importance of India book, not entire book, but rather few of the chapters, especially for Indian polity. Fine. That is the third important source for all of you. The fourth important source would be, of course, the issues that come up, in fact in public domain through current affairs. But here you have to be very specific in the context of.
Excuse me, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you please tell me the third book name?
I said about India Yearbook. India Yearbook, that is released by Ministry of Information and Publication Broadcasting.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So exactly the point was that obviously this is how you have to take up even the current affairs. You have to take up from the current affairs perspective. Once you read any particular material, you have to have a fair idea about the issues of political development over there, and all those issues of political development over there. You have to refer it from the website of PIB and PRS. So PIB and PRS websites have to be frequently referred. Maybe you can say once in a week or maybe once in a month, as per your comfort. But these things you have to enlist in your diary. That what all things you are supposed to do to handle all these questions. So as I just told you that the PRS and the PIB websites are very, very important, and all these statement with the Aadhaar issue, the very first question has been taken from the PIB website. So that is what actually is the issue. Now see, as far as the Aadhaar issue is concerned only, let me discuss it and then I'll let you know exactly what is this issue all about it. See, this issue is all about in the context of the recent Supreme Court judgment. The Supreme Court judgment had come out in the month of August 2018 regarding Aadhaar issue. And in that way only, even the PIB had also updated what was the observation of Supreme Court on the issue of Aadhaar, whether it should be made mandatory or should not be made mandatory, the government schemes in India. So on that basis, even the PIB has also uploaded the entire details about Aadhaar and the observations made by Supreme Court in the month of August 2018 itself. So in August 2018, this issue had come. And what UPSC had done, they had asked you this issue in the month of October 2020. So even if you go by this logic, the question paper may have been set by UPSC by the month of April 2020 itself, or maybe by month of March 2020 itself, because anyhow, they were clear that they had to conduct the examination in the month of June. Had Corona been not there, they would have been definitely conducting this examination in the month of June itself. So idea is, even if you go giving a sort of a, you can say, doubt over UPSC or chance to UPSC, and of course UPSC may have set this paper by the month of March 2020 itself. So paper was already prepared by UPSC. That's what actually I can also understand from looking after the entire question paper. All right. Therefore, they actually had been asking you questions not only from 2019 current affairs, rather even 2018 current affairs. So a current affair today has become important not from the last 1 year's perspective, rather from last 2 years perspective. That is now the orientation of UPSC. And I have been repeatedly telling to everyone right from the beginning. In fact, in this year only, I have been interacting with a lot of candidates, and I have been telling to all of them that you have to prepare current affairs of last 2 years, not last 1 year, because I got this impression also from last year's prelims as well. In 2019 prelims also, they had asked questions that was in the news in 2017. So in 17, informations were asked in 2019. For example, like, give you one small example. Last year in prelims, they had asked you about which all taxes of GST had been subsumed under GST, and which of taxes of indirect form had been subsumed under GST. Now, the GST issue was in the news in 2017, not in 2019. Now, even though they had asked you this particular basic question in 2019, which was already in news in 2017, that is one example to substantiate my observation. There could be at least more than a dozen of examples that I'm still having. But the point is, what we have to understand, that current affairs is not what we have been telling, or rather what others have been telling to many of the students, that it is only the last 1 years of development. No, that is a mistake now. Because now with these question papers of last couple of years, UPSC had already given a clear-cut indication that current affairs is not only about the last 1 year of development. It is rather about last couple of years of development, especially if there have been any major development on any major political, social, economic, or even cultural issues. Therefore, in the context of that observation only, you can see this particular question, that is question number 1. Fine. Now see question number 1. The question number 1 is all about the Aadhaar metadata cannot be stored for more than 3 months. Idea is it can be stored for more than 5 years in fact. This is what actually Government of India had given a acknowledgement or affidavit in the Supreme Court. All right. So that's what actually it was. It wanted to check your information whether you have this information or not. The first aspect statement itself is incorrect. Fine. Then again, second statement that state cannot enter into any contract with private corporation for sharing of Aadhaar data. That's exactly correct. Because even the government had given this in a writing to Supreme Court that this is what actually we are going to preserve the issue of privacy through Aadhaar data. Because privacy was one of the issues while keeping these data with the private sector. That's the reason why the government gave an affidavit and gave an undertaking. In fact, the state will not be sharing any information regarding Aadhaar to any private companies. That's what actually is the correct statement over here. So two is correct in that way. Then third one is Aadhaar is mandatory for obtaining insurance products. So it is incorrect. It is incorrect. So there are many people in India who actually had not got Aadhaar even in 2017 and 18. Yet there had been a lot of schemes of the government of India, and the most important scheme is itself the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which was a scheme of agriculture crop insurance scheme in India. Of course, the government had made it clear that it is not mandatory for them to actually have Aadhaar. Only they can issue, they can receive the insurance product, because under Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, the private companies were allowed to offer the agriculture insurance for the first time in India. All right. And this Yojana was introduced in 2016, as you know. We have already discussed about this issue of chapter of agriculture. So, of course, this Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana had allowed the private sectors to offer the insurance products also to poor farmers. And here the government had made it very clear to the Supreme Court also that for those schemes, it is not going to be mandatory to have Aadhaar for the farmers to actually avail the benefit of insurance products in India. So this is something, again, is incorrect. It is not mandatory now. Then the fourth one is, of course, in the court only, government had given this writing or undertaking that yes, it is mandatory, especially for those schemes which would be funded by CFI. So any scheme where the money is going to be funded by CFI, then for that it is essential to have Aadhaar. For example, MGNREGA, Narega. Now, of course, for these schemes, we need Aadhaar so that our money should not get leakage, so not get, let's say, wastage in our country. That's the reason why Aadhaar should be made essential for running various government schemes where the money is going to be withdrawn from CFI and it is going to be finally spent on the real and actual beneficiaries. So in that way, 2 and 4 are correct. All right. So 1 and 3 statements are incorrect. Are you getting the point? Now see, this question, you will not get it any book. ये किसी बुक में नहीं मिलेगा. मैं आपको frankly बता दूं कुछ बातें. ये आपको किसी बुक में नहीं मिलेगा. अब भले बुक लिखा जाए तो उसमें ये डाल दे तो अलग बात है, लेकिन अभी तक किसी बुक में ये इंफॉर्मेशन आपको नहीं मिलेगा. तो इसको करना कैसे था? सवाल यहाँ ये है कि जो चीज बुक में नहीं है, फिर उसको कैसे करेंगे हम? तो एक उपाय ये है कि टीचर जो आपको पढ़ा रहा हो इतना अवेकेंड हो, इतना अवेयर हो, इतना वो करंट अफेयर्स पढ़ता हो कि वो पढ़ाने के दौरान इन सब बातों को आपके साथ अपडेट कर दे. दैट्स ऑलवेज अ वेरी सिंपल एक्सरसाइज. बट द पॉइंट इज दैट, I mean, how many teachers and how many faculties now who actually have acquired some big short names work on their they actually improve their information, they work upon their repertoire of information, and they actually also work upon the current affairs to deliver the content. I believe it is very rare now. It is very rare now, because those big shot teachers, they actually are known for their name and their brand only. So even they don't work hard on the current affairs, yet the people are so mad about after them, they will join those big teachers just because they have a big name. All right, so that's what actually the point. The point is that you cannot expect from the teachers to actually prepare the current affairs and to deliver the current affairs also along with the traditional set of the class notes. So that is precisely the problem in this entire coaching world. Therefore, I mean, this is not about criticizing coaching world. It's all about protecting your interest and protecting your career, all about. So how can you protect yourself? You can protect yourself by simply keeping vigilant on your own. All right. And if you cannot be vigilant, then who can be vigilant? Because it is your career, it is your hard-earned money, it is your hard-earned time, in fact, that you are putting up in this entire process of preparation for UPSC examination. So obviously, you will have to be extra vigilant than even a teacher or even let's say any XYZ teachers who are teaching over here. So the point that I was trying to make it out very clearly is that you guys have to be extra vigilant regarding all those informations, all those current affairs aspects uh, very efficiently. And therefore, I raised this issue yesterday also before all of you, because I know that these things would not be covered by any of the current affairs magazine, and even by, let's say, any of the coaching institutes and their so-called printed materials. Fine. Therefore, it is high time for all of you to start also working on your current affairs through the newspaper on your own. Besides whatever assistance is coming from the coaching institutes, anywhere, in fact, ऑनलाइन में बहुत सारे फ्री अवेलेबल है, कविश आईएएस पे भी होगा, बहुत सारी चीज आपको डिलीवर किया जाएगा। लेकिन मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि जो जहां से आना है उसको आने दो, लेकिन आपको अपने लिए भी थोड़ा टाइम निकालना पड़ेगा। दैट्स व्हाट इज अ मेजर observation from the very first question on polity, that is on Aadhaar issue. Fine. So you will have to now orient yourself to also spend some time with the newspaper. That is the point, in fact. Fine. So let us now get to the next question now. So Rajya Sabha has equal powers with Lok Sabha in, of course, in the amendment of the Indian Constitution. So you have to see, see one more thing I would like to mention over here. Once you see these questions, you should not only be bothered about what actually is the exact answer of this question. You should be equally bothered about why the other options have also been given along with the correct option in the given set of options in any question. Why the first option is mentioned over here, why the third option is mentioned over here, why the fourth option is also mentioned over here. What does Raj Sabha do in the rest of the three options? Fine. Now this is called preparation through question paper. Are you getting the point? My point is you should not be bothered only about what is the right answer, unlike what we have been doing right from our school days. स्कूल डेज से हम यही करते हैं कि जो सही आंसर वो देख के छोड़ दिया कि बाकी ऑप्शंस क्या है, we are hardly bothered about that. But in UPSC, this exactly would be a difference between what you have done and what you are supposed to do now. So now you are supposed to also refer the rest of the options. Then why these rest of the options are also mentioned over here. But that is a task that I'm leaving on you. I mean, I'm not going to discuss about all those options right now. It's a task on leaving on you that when you will also relook into these questions, what is supposed to be done by you? You're supposed to also refer about all the other options, that why those so-called incorrect options given there in the particular question paper. And you have to find out the exact information about even those options which are mentioned there in a particular question. That is the beginning of your preparation, in fact. Fine. So that was my point. So exactly this is the question number second, and you can see question number third. Now, see question number third, it is in the context of with reference to the funds under MP LAD scheme. All right. So Member of Parliament Local Area Development Scheme. I just told you that this issue is rightly given in their India yearbook. So you can refer India yearbook at any point of time. And if you don't have, I can show you if it is available here right now. So I'll show you later on. I think it is kept somewhere else. So idea is that, of course, you can simply refer the India yearbook, and in the India yearbook only you have a chapter, very first, second chapter, in fact, that is on polity. Fine, and there you can find it out all the details about MP LAD scheme. Fine. Now going by this particular question, what is this question all about? Let us see that question now. See, MP LAD funds must be used to create durable assets like physical, correct, in fact. All right. So MP scheme now. So earlier it was rupees specified portion of each MP's fund must fit as so correct. So MP is also responsible to uplift. MP-led funds are sanctioned on yearly basis, and the unused funds cannot be carried forward to the next year. It's not correct. It is given for the entire tenure. All right, entire tenure. The idea is 5 crore is given to the entire tenure, and this 5 crore has to be spent by the MP under the MP LAD scheme as per their own comfort. So it's not actually the money would be lapsed in that way. They can be carried forward also for any next year. That is the idea about it. So statement 3 is incorrect here. then district authority must inspect at least 10% of all works under implementation every year. So here, DC has a very important role, district collector. So district collector must inspect at least 10% of all works under implementation every year. So at least 10% of that particular money has to be spent every year. That is the role of also DC. So DC will have to coordinate with MP to actually execute or implement the MP-led scheme in India. That is the point. So here answer is 1, 2, and 4 is correct in fact. All right. That is question number 3. Now you can see the question number 4. Now question number 4, which one of the following categories of fundamental rights incorporates protection against untouchability as a form of discrimination? So as you know, you must be knowing about it. If you don't know, I just told you, carry this book. ठीक है, मैं आपको बताता हूँ जब हमने अपने समय में शुरुआत की थी पढ़ाई की 2003 में 2004 में जब हमने अपना मास्टर्स कंप्लीट किया तो आई यूज्ड टू read out this book every day. In fact, this is sort of a compulsory reading, all right, indispensable reading, I would say in this particular manner. ये ऐसी बुक है जो आपको पूरे जिंदगी भर आपको काम आएगी, क्योंकि ये आप आईएएस बनने के बाद भी इसको अपने साथ लेके जाएंगे, जहां जाएंगे उसको लेके जाएंगे. ये ऐसा चीज है, ये इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का ब्रीफ नोट है, ठीक है. So idea is, of course, you all must be knowing about Article 17. So it is on untouchability, and this is Article 17 is a part of right of equality. So you can see it's very nicely given over here. आप आराम से देख सकते हैं कि फंडामेंटल राइट्स को कितने भाग में डिवाइड किया हुआ है. So 6 parts are there, so you must be knowing. So there is right to equality, there is a right to freedom, isn't it? There's a right to against exploitation, the right to freedom of religion, isn't it? Then cultural and educational rights, serving of certain laws, right to constitutional remedies. Now, these all are the part of fundamental rights only. तो आपको इस पता तो होगा ही होगा. अब सिंपल पूछा क्या गया कि आर्टिकल 17 जो है किसके अंदर आएगा, तो इट्स एक्चुअली राइट टू इक्वालिटी. So this is what actually would be the answer, and this particular book would be quite handy for all of you to use it. कोई भी कंपटीशन, चाहे वेस्ट बंगाल हो, चाहे यूपीपीसीएस हो, चाहे एसएससी क्यों ना हो, ये इंडिस्पेंसिबल है, ठीक है. तो इसको आपके पास हमेशा होना चाहिए. Fine. So that's what actually was the issue. So the answer is right to equality here. Then you have the next question, that is, in India, separation of judiciary from the executive is enjoined by. So it is very important to understand, it is enjoined by Article 50. सबको पता होगा, आपको नहीं पता है तो इसको इसी जो बेयर एक्ट आपको दिखाया था उसमें सब कुछ दिया हुआ है. तो आर्टिकल 50 में साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है सेपरेशन ऑफ जुडिशरी फ्रॉम एग्जीक्यूटिव. ऑलराइट, दैट्स द रीजन व्हाई बैलेंस ऑफ पावर्स मेंटेन इन इंडिया. फाइन. सो आर्टिकल 50 में ये लिखा हुआ है. तो आर्टिकल 50 जो है वो किसका पार्ट है, वो है डीपीएसपी का पार्ट, ठीक है. सो दैट्स व्हाट एक्चुअली वुड बी आंसर. आंसर इज हियर बी, ठीक है. तो बी होगा 5 का. Now come to next question, that is question number 6. See, question number 6, you have a very interesting question, that is, along with the budget, finance minister also places other documents before the parliament which include the macroeconomic framework statement. Fine, that's basically a part of FRBM law that actually became compulsory on the finance minister to put up before the parliament along with the budgetary proposals. So here the answer is D only, that is FRBM law, that is Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act 2003. Fine. So since then it has become obligatory on the finance minister to put forward the document regarding the performance of the government of India on the parameters of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. That's the reason why precisely the government always have a headache of controlling fiscal deficit in India. And if they fail to do so, they will have to give a reply on the floor of the parliament why the government of India had failed in terms of not able to maintain the concept of or the target of fiscal deficit. Therefore, the government of India had constituted a committee under the chairmanship of N.K. Singh. All right. N.K. Singh. So N.K. Singh committee had been constituted by the government of India to review this FRBM law and to indicate now not a target, not a fiscal deficit target, rather a fiscal deficit range, not a target. Because earlier what used to happen, a target had to be set by the government before the parliament, and the target had to be achieved by the government in a given financial year. and if they used to fail, they had to give a written reply, oral reply on the floor of parliament, and that used to be a big issue for the government of the day, right from the 2003 onwards only. Therefore, the current government, yeah, kindly mute yourself. I think someone has unmuted. All right, so I was telling to all of you that, of course, since 2003 only, the government has always been doc whenever they used to go into the parliament along with the budgetary proposals, and they had to justify about their performance on the fiscal deficit target. So therefore, the government had constituted NK Singh committee recently, and that NK Singh committee had been asked to suggest the government or to recommend to the government that what could be the apt fiscal deficit range, rather a target. Because earlier target used to be 3.2%, 3.4%, 3.5%, like this way of India's GDP to be targeted as fiscal deficit. But under the fiscal range, what would happen? Between 3 to 3.5%, anything can be achieved by the government. So there would be some flexibility for the government now to spend more money, and even if they fail to, of course, to target it to 3.4%, they are not going to be answerable on the floor of the parliament. That is the benefit of the government, and therefore this question has been asked to you in this year's prelims. तो समझना यहाँ ये है कि क्वेश्चन ऐसे ही पूछा जा सकता था. अब लॉजिक क्या कहता है कि 2003 का मामला ये सरकार ने, यूपीएससी ने ये इसलिए पूछा कि 2019 में एनके सिंह कमेटी की अध्यक्षता में कमेटी बनाई गई थी एफआरबीएम लॉ को रिव्यू करने के लिए. इनफैक्ट जेटली साहब ने ही बना दिया था. इन्होंने लास्ट ईयर एक रिपोर्ट जमा किया था सरकार के पास. तो एनके सिंह कमेटी इसको देख रही थी. जो फाइनेंस कमीशन का गठन के सिंह, तो फाइनेंस कमीशन का जो गठन हुआ उसके एनके सिंह चेयरमैन थे, उनको भी यही टास्क दे दिया गया कि आप फिस्कल रेंज को सजेस्ट कीजिए सरकार को, ना कि फिस्कल डेफिसिट टारगेट को सजेस्ट कीजिए. तो ये 2017, 18, 19, 20 तक ये लगातार न्यूज में है. ठीक है, दैट इज द रीजन व्हाई दिस क्वेश्चन एक्चुअली हैज बीन आस्क्ड टू यू. फाइन. सो जो करंट अफेयर्स है वो ऐसे ही समझना है कि जो न्यूज में है उसका जो बेस है, उसका ओरिजिन है, वो आपको समझना है, वो आपको जानना है, और वही पूछते हैं यूपीएससी में. एग्जैक्टली करंट अफेयर्स जो हम समझते हैं कि रट के गए वो आ जाएगा, या कोई फैक्ट याद कर चले गए आ जाएगा, वैसा नहीं आता है यूपीएससी में. ये डिफरेंस है यूपीएससी के एग्जाम में और बाकी किसी और एग्जामिनेशन के पैटर्न के अंदर. ठीक है, दैट्स द पॉइंट. Then you can say the next question, that is the question number 7. A constitutional government by definition is another very important and very interesting question. So it is a constitutional government by definition is a limited government. Why limited government? Because they have to be answerable to the parliament. So a government which is constitutional would always be answerable to someone, will always be answerable to the parliament. Therefore it is constitutional. And the moment they are answerable to parliament, obviously they are not, of course, autocracy. They are not autocracy. They are not going to be autocracy. They actually are be a limited government which actually will have to reply to the parliament. We have to give the answers to the parliament. So that's what actually is the analysis of this particular question. All right. So limited government is the correct option over here. Fine. That's a actually conceptual question. Fine. ये सब दिया नहीं हुआ है. I mean, let me tell you one thing. ये दिया नहीं हुआ है लक्ष्मीकांत में भी कि वहां पढ़ के जाएंगे आप इसको टिक करके आ जाएंगे. नहीं, ये आपको अपने समझ बूझ बनानी पड़ेगी जिसमें आप समझ पाए कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल गवर्नमेंट का मतलब होता क्या है. ठीक है. सो खैर नीचे आते हैं. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, क्वेश्चन नंबर 8. So question number 8 is, in the context of other than the fundamental rights, which of the following parts of the Constitution of India reflects the principles and provisions of Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948? Now see, this is one of those favorite topics of UPSC जो आज से नहीं मेरे समय से ये क्वेश्चन आ रहा है. ठीक है. देखिए, कुछ ऐसे प्रोविजंस है, इंटरनेशनल कोवेनेंट्स है, इंटरनेशनल कह सकते हैं कि कॉन्फ्रेंस के आउटकम्स है, कन्वेंशंस है, जो कि यूपीएससी के लिए हमेशा फेवरेट रहा है और इनफैक्ट होना भी चाहिए. दैट्स व्हाट इज द पॉइंट. दैट इज यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स. Now it has been there since 1948 only, and that's the reason why it is equally important for all of us to understand the issue of human rights. And it was also in news because of many of the international agencies have been critical of India regarding the abolition of Article 370 for Jammu and Kashmir, and also alleging Indian government to compromise the human rights violations, or rather have been involved in human rights violation there in Jammu and Kashmir. So because of that one, this issue was also already in news. Now, in the context of that one, you have to understand what all provisions of the Indian Constitution that I have to talk about the issue of human rights declaration. In fact, so in fact, you can say other than the fundamental rights. तो पहले ही इन्होंने बता दिया कि fundamental rights में तो है ही है. अब उसके अलावा भी कहाँ कहाँ आपको ह्यूमन राइट्स के प्रोविजंस देखने को मिलते हैं. तो कहने मतलब है कि प्रियम्बल में देखने को मिलता है, तो बिल्कुल देखने को मिलता है. क्यों? प्रियम्बल में साफ साफ कहा हुआ है जस्टिस, है ना, इक्वालिटी, इक्विटी. सो जस्टिस इज सर्टेन वर्ड जो अपने आप में फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल है ह्यूमन राइट्स का. बिना उसके तो ह्यूमन राइट्स प्रोटेक्ट हो ही नहीं सकता है, isn't it? So preamble itself is a very big, you can say, I mean, platform, a very big information for the issue of human rights for all of us. So obviously in that way, this is going to be a preamble also. Then even in DPSP, that is Directive States of Directive Principles State Policy. Now even DPSP also talks about the issue of human rights. Where now see in DPSP also there is or there has been various provisions like 39A. The 39A talks about equal justice, all right, and also free legal aid. So equal justice and free legal aid is also a part of the concept of human rights, Vani. Therefore, it is going to be a fundamental duties. It is also mentioned in fundamental duties in Article 51A. So in fundamental duties, Article 51A, where it is mentioned, you can see if you have, then you can see. If you don't have, I can read it out for all of you. See, in the Article 51A, that is in the list of fundamental duties, there is very much clearly one word that is mentioned over here, and that is that to promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood amongst all people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, regional, and sectional diversities, to renounce practices derogatory. See, this is a very important statement. I'm going to read it out for all of you. To renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. So idea is human right is also for women. All right. So obviously, very clearly, the particular provision of Article 51A, Clause E, 51A, Clause E, very clearly mentions about the issue of protection of human rights. And this exactly is what is mentioned there, that which of the provisions of Indian Constitution reflects the principle and provisions of Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. So that is what actually is the answer. That is 1, 2, and 3. Fine. Is it clear to all of you now?